Hey there, in today's video, I am just doing a quick, well, okay, it's not quick, art journal flip through that I've just finished. I've worked on it for the past year, and I have kind of got to a place where it's done, even though I have a tendency to go back and work over pages. And that's my process. I don't finish a page and then move on to the next page. I splash down paint, I do all these things, put collage down, and then I work on it, and then I go back and I go, I don't like that, and I paint over it, and then I go back again, and then I go back again. So it does take me a little bit longer probably than most people to complete and finish the book, but I'm done, and so I wanted to share it with you, and I went back and forth. I was like, should I actually talk about each page, or should I just literally flip through? But I decided I wanted to talk a little bit about it, just given the fact that I want to kind of give you my thoughts and ideas around what's happening, like internally, my process, what I like and what I don't like, what I have done or what I'm seeing about myself as things are evolving, because our art is always evolving. It's always changing, and what we like and what we think we like, it's also changing. And I think that's awesome, because if we stay stuck just doing the same thing over and over again, that's gonna, well, I mean, I guess some people could do that, but I feel like as we're evolving and as we're changing, then our art should reflect that, I guess is my point. And if you stay doing the same thing over and over, that's fine too. So I think we all have our own process. So I don't mean to diminish anybody else's process as they're making their art. But I did want to just kind of address the fact that some of you may not be interested in this, flip through that is like, that I'm talking a little bit about each one. If that is the case, and if that is you, no offense taken, but go ahead and stop the video now and go down below and click on the little gear button below, and you can change the playback speed. You can change it to 2.0 and then mute me, and you won't even have to hear anything. Or you can just do it in a faster way. But I would definitely, if you don't want to hear me talk about the pages, definitely just mute it and go to a higher speed. And if you want to hear me talk about the different, my thoughts about some of the different pages, then, by all means, just watch it regularly. But I did want to give that as an option, because I feel like a lot of people go, okay, less talking, more art, and I do tend to kind of blather on sometimes. So anyway, I guess there's nothing much else to say other than thanks for coming along with me, and I hope you enjoy this art journal flip through. Let's get started. Unfortunately, I do not know the brand of this art journal that I just finished. It is obviously spiral bound, and it has a hardcover, a black hardcover, and I don't see any identifying marks on it. So I'm not real good at keeping track of what I'm using, although I'm trying to get better at that, so that then I can either repurchase or I can recommend certain art journals that I prefer. I am moving away from the spiral bound because I want to have more of a flat lay. So coming up, I have a few more spiral bound that I'm going to finish working in, but then after that, it's going to be non-spiral bound, and we'll see. I mean, I may transition back to these, but for now, I just find that what happens is, and I'll show you instead of just blathering on. Obviously, I've worked on this. I usually write the month that I start and the month that I end. So I've worked in this over the course of a year. I do not work in a linear manner. I will just pick a page in the middle and jump in. And then what I do is I'll, clean off my paintbrushes or whatever it is that I happen to do. And then I'll go back and work on that and go back and forth and back and forth. So this was not like May 2023 and the end was June 2024. In fact, what I did recently is when I had finished kind of what I thought was the last page, I went back and there was some that I just wanted to change. So I am constantly these are a work in motion. Is that right? A work in motion? No, they're a work in progress. So I'm always tweaking it. So for example, but at a certain point I had to call it done. So done. But as I open up this very first page, this is really too busy for me. If I just kept working on them continuously, this would have been adjusted as well. I like the colors. It just feels like it's a bit over the top, a bit too many things are going on. And I think that's the process and the things that you learn by working in an art journal is that you figure out what you like and what you don't like in a place that doesn't matter and in a place that is just allowing you to explore and experiment. So as you'll see as we go through it, I'm not going to chit chat at every single one, but I do want to address
some of those things right out of the top, out of the gate. So, okay, and again, this one is fine. I really did a lot in the last year or so of these big swirls and kind of dramatic marks, and it's fine. I feel like I'm still trying to find my way and figure out what it is that I really like in abstracts. And I know people think, oh, a 5-year-old could do it, or a 3-year-old or whatever. It is hard to find your way with abstracts, in my opinion, because it's hard to find what you like. I can see in other artists what I like, but in myself, I am drawn to certain marks and to certain textures and certain things, and it doesn't always come out on the page. It's like, why can't I make what I like? I don't know. So you do have to it's not just yourself that's having these questions for as you're making art. It is also for me. I am always wondering, is this what I want? This is not what I want. And again, I didn't go back. Oh, I'm sure I did. I'm sure I went over this a number of times, but it's not as textured as some of the other pages. Now, I will be honest, I actually really love this page, and you're probably going like, why? What the heck? Basically, it is a book paper that I did some marks and then I scratched into it. And it's as simple as that. I like the text coming through. I like the look. I like that not every one is black, and there's some blue I obviously put on top, and then some cream. So this is an indicator of the things that I like. Okay, and I got distracted earlier, and what I wanted to say was, for whatever reasons, I only work on the right-hand side. I think it's because I'm right-handed, and I mentioned this before, and a lot of you will actually turn your art journal upside down and do it. I can't bring myself to do that. I can't bring myself to turn it landscape and work on it. I cannot bring myself to do that. So this left-hand side gets completely is blank. And the spiral I think this is like the 20th spiral bound art journal that I've worked in. And every one of them is the same. I have left the left side blank. So that is why I kind of wanted to transition to a, one that lays flat without the spiral bound, to see if I'll use more of the paper, because I feel like this is going to waste. And certainly I could force myself to do it, but there is something. Okay, I got some issues that I'm confessing here on camera, because obviously I can't figure out how to use that side. So anyway, okay, let's get going. And again, back to circles and trying to discover my flow with abstracts. There's a lot going on underneath. I like this better because I've muted out with a lighter paint, a lot of variety, but let some of it peek through. Like I said, it's just all about trying to figure out what you like. Here's one. Used to do this a lot, where I would kind of do an abstract background and then make a smoother or a solid area in the middle and then write a quote. This one I don't know if you can read it. Gratitude helps us see what is there instead of what isn't. And I love quotes. Any of you who get my newsletter, I include a whole bunch of quotes in between other stuff. I love quotes. So I collect them like other people might collect knickknacks or something. So anyway, so that's what's going on here. And there is some texture. In this, I did not actually use a pencil. I scratched into the paint. I painted a light color, and then I scratched into the paint. This was a portrait that I did on a paper grocery bag, craft colored, and I use that a lot. But then a lot of times I'm like, what do I do with it now? So I'm starting to put those, just glue those into my art journal so that I have those, rather than, I don't know, where do they go? And this is one that was a lot of fun. There's a ton of collage under here, and I was very cool collage, actually, and I was really very reluctant to paint over the top of it, but it was too busy. And so and this is not a color palette I would normally use, this light blue, but I like it. It works for me. I like that I left the word upside down, behemoth, anyway. And you can see a number and just some different things coming through. Not a color palette I would probably normally use, so I'm not sure how that all came about, but it's really thick and there's a lot of collage on here. This is another one of those. This is I think a 3 to 5 minute sketch that I did on book paper. And again, I think I had written some text underneath and then just glued her on top and went around the edge. But again, I'm like, I want to keep some of these as reminders. Get loose, stay loose when you're working. And so by putting them in here, I can do that. And again, I do a lot of portrait work. I don't do as much portrait work in my art journal as I actually do on canvas. I find portraits very, they're not easier. I don't know how to describe it. I usually work from a reference photo. And so for me, and they don't look like the reference photo at the end, but it gives me a starting place. Whereas I'm not kidding, the abstracts is like, what do I do? How do I start? What's going on here? And so I really focus more on the abstracts in my art journals, like this crazy thing. Although I kind of like it. It feels like maybe it's a tree. Not that it is, not that it has to be representational, but it has that kind of grounding feel to it. And so but again, I had to come in and completely obliterate the background. And this is a super heavy collage. So I had collaged a lot of pieces on here. And I love collage. I love texture. And I like the physical texture, not just the visual texture. Another portrait. And this one I can see, I think I might have had a bunch of, this is also heavily textured and using pastels. And I may have done a video on that. Again, another super heavy texture. This one's okay. It's a little on the messy side. Some of it should have been calmed down a little bit, but again, you can only do so much. This also was part of a video that I did. It was inspired by a magazine, and then a magazine photo, and then I did it right up, and then I turned it and did it upside down. And I think this is the upside down version. And so it just shows you, it's like sometimes it's helpful to have something to reference as you're doing it. Okay, again, tons and tons of texture under here. I wish you could feel this page. The ladder, which I am obsessed with making these little ladders into my art, scratching them in. So you'll see them a lot in this art journal. A lot of, again, a lot of collage underneath. So that peeks through. And I think finding a way for me, if I could find a way to use the collage, particularly the book paper, and use these muted colors to find my style, I think that would be great. And obviously I'm still exploring. And this, I have done some art with this actually on canvas where I did kind of blocks of different color. This is collage paper, but I kind of like it. Kind of. It's got a ways to go, and maybe if I went back over it and wasn't painted, and maybe it was just the book paper, and then I had some color over the top. Maybe, I don't know. But this leads me to explore, because I do like the concept of this. This was another video I did on how to begin using continuous line, like just making a big line and then painting it in as a way to get started. And this one was done on heavy texture. This is a really simple one, and I do like it. These are not colors that I would normally use. I don't use a lot of pink in my work. This probably is nickel azo gold, quinacridone nickel azo gold. I like the combination of the two. Obviously I kind of did it. Maybe I was even cleaning a paintbrush and didn't go back over it because I just kind of like the simplicity of it. This one I can see and feel is super textured. I've got the ladder. There's something not right about it, but again, you can only correct things so many times. And here I realized I wish I had blocked out this line, and I could have gone back in and done it, but I had gone back in so many times and kind of flipped through that I just decided enough is enough. But I think it would be better if either the line was broke up or gone altogether. So, those are things you learn. And again, this one has the feel of maybe more of a landscape. The ladder's in there, maybe clouds, land, some kind of a day like it would be here even today. It's a little overcast, and we tend to have a lot of gray skies in Seattle, so this kind of reminds me of that. Here's another quote. This is a little messy. I wish I'd cleaned up the edges, but that's neither here nor there. So this quote just says, if I can read it, gratitude helps us see what is there instead of what isn't. See, those are always good for me. And then here's another kind of landscapey with marks and the ladder again. So, I would say I don't do landscapes, but then there's a few in here that really are landscapes when you really look at them, even if they're not in the traditional sense of the word a real landscape. This is another, okay, so I had done collage on the back, and this was I did a video on this using ephemera to make a collage, and I thought I was going to be able to put it on a card, a greeting card, but it was the wrong shape, and I had used this paper thinking that's how it was going to be used, but I didn't. I love it so much that I found a page in here that I could glue it on that I feel like it kind of goes with this background, this collaged background. And I really like using bits of stick and twine and tea bags and just all kinds of things. I used to do this more. I've kind of steered away from this kind of work, but I do like it. And again, another ladder, and I mean, honestly, this could be a landscape. What the heck? A high, maybe a rocky landscape when I just look at it now. I don't know. but I'm telling you, I don't really think of myself as liking landscapes. So there's that. Another portrait, and this has got heavy texture on her as well. And I love doing portraits that have heavy texture on them because it just makes it makes it 100% sure that you are not going to have it perfect. And that's what I really like. This one this portrait I did obviously using colors that you wouldn't normally use. And I love doing that as well, where you kind of, you're using your lights and darks, but you're not using the colors that would be natural to a person. And I think that's a fun exercise to do. And a color swatching, another ladder. I love these colors. I'm not sure that it all works. It may be a little bit busy, but I do really like the color palette here. Okay, this one is every form of textured paper I could possibly find is in here. And I love this, although it feels like it lacks kind of a focal point and maybe it needs a little bit more darks. It's all kind of a muted, mid-tone kind of color palette, but there is some lights, I guess, and maybe some darks, but I love texture, and this makes me so happy, all the different texture. I think this is like a wallpaper and then drywall tape and fabric and string and just super fun. Okay, I know this is crazy, but I really like this one, and I don't know why, and I feel like it's so simple, what the heck, but I think it's because there's colors coming underneath. It's very simple, it's very, I don't know. This is just reminding me that I like a simpler, I wanna like something that's more complicated, but when it comes down to it, what I'm really drawn to is something like this. All right, color swatching, and another ladder, and very bold marks, and this is also not a color I would normally use, but I actually think it works, and I do like this one. Another, obviously I used pastel. I did spray these later, but in the meantime, they kind of got onto their other page. Another basic landscape, I guess, is what ultimately happened. I think when I start, it gets too busy, and then I start painting it out. This is what happens. There's no ladder. Well, looks like the start of a ladder in this one, but I do like the colors, and I actually like this one. And I think I was swatching some blacks. This is a video, I think, I didn't do this for a video, but I did a video similar to this, where in order to start, sometimes you just, like, let's say there was a color down, you just do like a square, kind of almost like a frame, and then put something in the middle of it. And that's kind of what I did here. And I actually like it, and it works. It's pretty basic, but it is a fun, I like the result. And more color swatching, and I figure on a lot of texture. Just using greens, which I am really drawn to greens. I think I've mentioned before, I grew up in a very rural area in Oregon in the Coast Range, and trees, forests, everything. So green somehow pops up in almost everything I do. Okay, so this one, you guys are gonna laugh, but this is fine, I guess. But what I really like is I like this little corner up here. If I could just cut that corner out. I love this right here. So, you know, sometimes it's one little piece of it. I could have probably covered up the rest of it. This one I actually really like, and it's using those squiggle marks, even though this is not a color palette I would normally use. I think I just really like it, so. And a lot of times, well, I'll just kind of do these really very simple florals, just literally dots of paint. I mean, and just green, wherever. I don't do anything complicated or try to replicate actual flowers. This also I really like. I think this was, yeah, I have spray over it or clear gesso. It's not a color palette I would normally use, but I do actually really like the simplicity of that as well. This one I absolutely love, and this is one of the last pages I think I did in here. I had all this really heavy texture, and it just wasn't working, and you can see some of the black. I had done all kinds of different things under it, and then I took a really fluid brown or sepia color and just kind of, I don't know, and the paint just kind of went this way, and I just think, wow, okay, this is something I really love. And that was just a spontaneous one, but it has multiple layers, and it's super thick and super textured. So you just never know. Okay, here's another quick 3-minute sketch with charcoal on paper. Another one using it's fine. Yeah, I mean, you got to practice, right? And then this was a jelly plate image jelly plate image transfer, and I did a video on that. But I liked it so much, I'm like, I just got to glue it in just as it is, because I thought it turned out super cool, this drink, kind of, anyway. So, and then the last page is, yeah, it's fine. It's probably a little brighter than I liked. I probably would do a glaze over the top with some raw umber or something if I was going to continue on with it. And then that is the end. So thank you so much for watching this with me, and for participating and actually commenting on some of the videos that were in this series that I did over the past year. I wanted to thank you for watching and for all your kind comments and words. It means a lot to me. So I will see you next time.